All right. Guess we kind of froze up there, so we're going on part two.
So we're back on again?
We're back on, yes. And on the last one, there was there was a couple of questions, and we didn't get to them. But I hear you out there, Aquatic Amigo. Um, but like we were saying, there's a lot of things that are just going on wrong around here. I mean, from the judges. I mean, why this guy is locked up for criminal homicide after he got out on bail and he violated his bail. Um, we heard the rumors that they were releasing this guy for a funeral, and so I text the prosecutor and I was like, hey, I hear this guy's getting out for a funeral, that there's a motion for this guy to get out on a funeral. And, the prosecutor's not in on it. The prosecutor is trying to do right. And the prosecutor assured me, he's like, no, no, no. I was there in court today. They filed the motion. The judge said, no, I'll send you the motion. The judge said, no, he's not going nowhere. You can go to sleep resting knowing that, this guy's not going anywhere. But at that moment, the prosecutor didn't know that this guy, Rusty, was already out. He was already released for a funeral. And the way that happened was tribal council, the chairwoman, Amelia Flores, called the courts and overturned this guy, the judge's ruling for this guy to not get out. So the judge is like, hey, this guy's already messed up on bail. This guy, you know what I mean? He's got a violent crime. He shouldn't even be in the public. Well, I don't know what kind of authority the government has granted tribal council members. And, before we go any further, I want to get this straight. We are not anti-law enforcement. We are not anti-tribal government. We are not anti-tribal council members. We know that there is tribal council members that are fighting tooth and nail to help us and to do the right thing, people that are there for the right thing. We know that there is police, tribal police right now that are trying to do the right thing, but their hands are tied because the older senior cops that have been there, that are used to doing dirty and they're used to turning their heads, are not teaching them right. We know that in every body of government, in every body of law enforcement, that there's that element that just doesn't give a crap and that are against you. We know that and we understand that. So when we say the tribal council, we're not bashing the whole tribal council. Because of the tribal council, I was able to fly out to Rapid City to take these stories out there to attend a MMIP conference. And those tribal council members know who they are. But as for the other ones, they have no business being there. You know what I mean? And this coming election, we're you know what I mean? It's like we got to bring awareness out to get these guys out of office. I mean, think about it. Phone call after phone call for a whole month went into the police department. My auntie's telling them, hey, these guys are getting drunk across the street. Can I have you check on my son? Because they're gonna go after him because I don't know about how it is where anybody else is from, but around here, when people drink, they tend to get balls and put a gun in their hand, and all of a sudden, they're cartel members. And I'm pretty sure it's like that everywhere, but I'm just being sarcastic. These guys went out and hunted my cousin like he was an animal. For a whole month, my cousin Albert Chavez was stalked like an animal. And the chairwoman had the nerve to release this guy. This poor guy needs to attend this funeral because it's vital for his, and he's being held on criminal homicide. Now, I'm not, these things that we're speaking are facts. They're not hearsay. You know what I mean? Because I'm ready to go to court. I don't care who out there gets offended. You want to take me to the courtroom? I've said this years ago. I said it on another video. I'm not scared to sit in court. I'm ready to go to court and face whoever. And I've been taken to court time and time again of people trying to shut me up. And you know what? I've won every single one. And I still stand here saying I'm not scared to go to court because, for one, you got to prove what I'm saying is a lie. You got to prove it. Slander is when you're spreading lies and it does something to hurt you. What we're saying is not slander. What we're saying is coming off of a police report. And yes, we do have the police report. And so, like I said, you can go ahead and take me to court. I ain't tripping. I mean, matter of fact, that's where I function the best at. I love getting into court. I love when I tickle somebody so much that they just want to do something bad to me in court and say all these bad things because, you know what I mean? I do have a past. I've done stabbed people. I've been in shootouts. I've done home invasions. I've been to prison. I've done all that. I got all that said on my testimony. And everybody tends to throw my past in my face. And I'm just like, you know what? Ain't it beautiful that somebody as far gone, somebody as violent as I was, could be saved by Jesus Christ? Somebody like that could be now is out here fighting against the very evil that I used to do. So, and the reason that I like these prison genre channels is because these are a whole bunch of convicts from across the country. And when people try to, try to downplay everything, these guys know they're lying. So it's a bunch of ex-convicts that are trying to scare you from doing the wrong thing is the right way to go because they could tell you about in court. Like if I mention something like I'm talking about right now in court, a lot of people out there have sat in court fighting for life, fighting for 20 years over something stupid. You know what I mean? So charges that are meant for crimes like what happened to my cousin. How is somebody going to sit in court facing 20 years for like armed robbery and a guy sitting in court for criminal homicide only get a year? You know what I mean? It should be reversed. The guy doing the criminal homicide should be facing, 20 years, some type of punishment. Instead, this guy's an alcoholic. They went to court and the mom said, the mom said it herself. We should release Rusty Fisher because he doesn't know anywhere to go. He's never been off the reservation. And poor little guy, he would never live on his own. He would die out there if he goes on beyond the borders of the reservation. He doesn't got no life skills. He never had a real job. What he does, he goes around cleaning people's yards and whatever, drinking most of the time. And they said, they expect the judge to take that into consideration as, yeah, this guy's harmless. Let's let him out. So basically what they said is this guy got no life skills. Leeches off freaking family members to feel sorry for him for giving him a job, and then his girlfriend comes in and says, oh, he's a good dad. He's a good provider. How is he a good provider? How is he this outstanding citizen? It's just pissing me off. You know what I mean? And they actually sit in court and file a motion saying we need him to get out because, during this court proceedings, they drugged me, my aunt, and my cousins in the court. The girlfriend did, claiming that we're all intimidating her, that we're all of us had different charges from her. And we all beat her in court. I went in there and this girl had the nerve to sit here and say I sat in front of her house doing this and that, whatever. And she just decided to make up any night. And the night she decided to pull out of thin air just happened to be the night I was a pallbearer for my sister-in-law's funeral. And A good thing about these funerals in Parker is that council member Tommy Drennan attends all of them, and he stays there to the end. So if I wanted to prove this girl to even be a bigger liar than she is, I could have subpoenaed council member Tommy Drennan and about 80 other people that were there at the funeral to say, hey, you are one of the biggest liars. And there's a word for that. It's called I forgot what we had said, insignificant, where you just have no value to this whole case. You know, when my sister was murdered in 2016, and when she was murdered, for some reason, when violent crimes and stuff happen, all these weirdos come out of the woodworks. They want to be part of it. They just want, I don't know why somebody would want to say, you know, they have nothing to do with the case, but they'll place themselves there. They'll give themselves a little role to play so they can get some of the attention out of it. And that's what this chick did. And it's like, who are you? We're after the person that killed my cousin Albert. That's all. We're not after the family. We don't care what you guys do. We want the person, because obviously it wasn't the family that held the gun up and did it. We know that. We know that that they didn't put it up to him. You know what I mean? We know that they didn't sit there and say, hey, you need to go do this. We know that. We understand that. This guy did it of his own well-being. He's a grown man. Let's get one thing straight. This guy is a grown man. He knew he had a gun. He went out and got one. He knew he had a problem. He couldn't settle it. Couldn't settle it like a man, so he had to go around with his friends and everything. And he did this himself. He did it. Rusty Fisher did this crime himself. We ain't got no problem with the family, but we as a family understand that as his brother and sister and mom, that you got to stand behind this guy. And that, you know, it's like whatever, you know, we do the same. We don't have no problem with the family. But what we do have a problem with is that when you don't take accountability for what he did, what he's doing, what he did, when you know he did something this bad and then you try to say he didn't, especially a bunch of them going around pretending to be Christians, knowing he committed the ultimate sin, and you're going to sit here and plead ignorance as a defense? Come on, Mom. Know what I mean? You're going to go before the judge just like him. And you know what I mean? And even though Rusty is going to go free, and I hope you guys celebrate, because when you guys go before the king, I want you to have that same energy and celebrate before him. You know what I mean? We just stating the facts. We stating the facts, and I just don't see how any parent could sit there and know that their kid did something like this and not hold them accountable and say, you need to apologize. You need to do what's right. And of course, this is, you know, let's get the elephant out of the room. We know they're going to throw my cousin Brown in our face. They're going to say, your cousin Brown did this and that. And you know what? My cousin Brown did something bad, and he turned himself in, and he took accountability for his actions. My cousin Brown is doing 33 years. My cousin Brown has been locked up going on 15 years. Those 15 years, he's doing more time than half the people that have gone to federal prison for murder. He got tripled up because he went in there and pled guilty. He didn't take no deals or nothing like that. He went in there and pled guilty for what he did. So before you think about throwing my cousin Brown out there and try to talk down on him, you need to know that he manned up. He took accountability. I like to see Rusty take accountability. He won't do it.
He's a coward.
He's a coward. Coward. And the family that stand behind him and say he didn't do it, he's a coward too. Like I said, you know, we're not trying to push violence or anything on the reservation, but you need to know that we ain't scared either. We're sick and tired of it. You know, the cycle of violence could keep going around and around and around. Anybody could do it, but we choose not to.
The calls that were coming in, I mean, what they were doing, But, like,
That's,
the call
you know, that's
before it
anger.
was out that he was dead. They were making excuses for him.
Yes, when my cousin Albert was murdered, and really early into the investigations, there was already rumors flying around. They were already celebrating. They were already posting things before the body was already identified, and we got screenshots of it and everything. And it turns out the person that had celebrated prematurely before the body was identified, saying, you know what I mean, already celebrating, this guy skipped town. Another coward. Skipped town and faked a fight with his baby's mama, and then she left. You know what I mean? It's like, ain't nobody stupid. We know a little bit more than you think. And we're gonna keep speaking. Like I said, you know, there's a lot of things we've been biting our tongue on as a family, but we're gonna start speaking out. And like I said, your only option is to take us to court. You take us to court, like I said, you got to prove what we're saying is a lie, and you can't do that.
You know what my anger is right now is with his family, mainly the mother and the father, or mainly the mother, I'll say that, is because she claims to be a Christian, yet she hasn't. None of the family members have ever tried to approach me at my home or, you know, come by and talk to me to you know, just to let me know that, you know, that they're sorry for what happened to my son. That no one's ever said anything. No family member from the Fishers has approached me or said anything to me. I know that they approached Albert's wife, who he hadn't lived with for what, 2.5 years. They approached her, and she says they're fine now. His wife and the Fisher family, they're fine because they talked it over. And it's just like, you know, what about me? I'm his mother. I raised him. And I just want to be able to talk to someone from that family and have some kind of explanation. I'm pretty sure that he hasn't even told them half of the truth about him stalking Albert that time, because we've seen it day after day since November 12th, when he tried to shoot Albert. And that was right across the street in front of our house. And then he didn't tell them the truth about November 13th when Albert shot him. I told the police, the FBI, everybody about it, because Albert called me right after it happened, and he said that he was walking out in the desert. They followed him, and they were using him as target practice. They started shooting at him, and he managed to get that gun he was carrying in his backpack, and he wasn't even aiming at anybody. He was just shooting in that general direction to scare them off, because 2 other people had jumped out of that truck that day or that night and ran out into the desert to catch him. So he shot at them to scare them off, and it worked. They turned around and they went running back to the truck. And then later on is when we found out that Rusty had been shot in the shoulder. But Albert wasn't aiming for him. He was just trying to scare off the 2 guys that were chasing him in the desert. And they turned it into this big whole thing. And I even talked to the police after that. I called the police to ask him about it. And they said, yeah, his name was given to us that he did shoot Rusty. But Rusty won't file charges against him. And he says, we know where that's going, because he said they want to take care of it on their own. Yet he's saying that to me about them taking care of it on their own. And Albert told me later on, he said, no, he goes, I don't want to turn him in or whatever. He says, because I know how it is being in jail and you have kids. You want to see your kids. He said, he's my friend, Mom. He wouldn't do that. He said he's probably high on something, or he's really drunk. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I kept telling Albert time after time, because every time something happened like that, another shooting or where they were chasing him, he would always tell me the same thing. No, Mom, I'm not going to talk to the police. He says, I don't want him to get arrested. He's my friend. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's just, As I kept telling Albert, I said, everybody doesn't think the same as you, Albert. I said, why does he keep going after you day after day after day? But he just wouldn't do it. He just kept saying, he's my friend, he's my friend. And it's like, oh. And that's why I wanted to talk to somebody from their side of the family, and just sit down, talk it over, find out what led up to this, and just to get it kind of settled for me in my heart, because I don't want to carry this anger around.
Yeah.
And ever since it happened, I have never said that I hate Rusty. I can't say that I don't hate him as a person. I hate his actions, and I hate the actions of his family members, because they know what he did. They know that he's guilty, yet they're trying to get him free.
Yeah.
They want to put him back out into the public again, and that's one of my other concerns, is for the community. If he gets set free to walk again out in the public as a free man, with his ego and all that, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen to somebody else. And it's just thinking about it, just, I don't know. And I know Albert's gone, whatever we do, he's not coming back, but we do want justice for him. We want Rusty to pay for what he did to him. And like I said, he doesn't need to be out in the public anymore.
Yeah.
So,
I spent like a third of my life locked up. Probably around 12 years. 12 years of my life locked up, in and out of prison. Taking responsibility for everything I'd done out there, all my actions and stuff. So I'm a firm believer in when someone is not held accountable and they get away with these kind of things, it really makes me mad, because I think about when I was out there, when I got busted, when I would get busted, my mom's sitting right here. She can tell you, when I would get arrested and go to court, I didn't cry like a little girl. I knew what I did was wrong. We got get my envelopes, get my paper, and let's go to prison. I knew when I got arrested, I was sitting in the holding cell. I knew I wasn't coming home for a couple of years. I knew what I did was wrong, and I went in there and I did my time, and it just burns me up knowing that how lenient these laws are, how someone can people get away with stuff like this in this day and age, and lawlessness is just crazy. Like I said, I'm a firm believer in taking responsibility for your actions. Like I said, I sat there for years, and that brings us here to this present day. Even though I sat there for a third of my life in prison, taking responsibility for everything I did, I even got locked up for things I didn't do. What you call it? Now I'm here as an advocate. Now I'm here trying to do right, trying to make right what I've done in the community. And I could see through a lot of these people around here. I could see through a lot of what they're doing, and things need to change. Things need to change. Back when I was out there running around, I could never, ever get away with stalking somebody the way my cousin was stalked. I mean, that kind of thing just wouldn't happen for me. I would have a massive manhunt after me, and it just burns me up knowing that this guy. It just makes me mad knowing he's gonna get away with it. It makes me mad sitting in court, hearing everyone trying to get him out, including a chairwoman, including tribal council members, and the prosecutor. Well, not Prosecutor Kelly, but the prosecutor before him, Myers. It seemed like everybody was hell bent on getting this guy out. And this guy's never even had a job. This guy's he has contributed nothing to the community, and they were hell bent on getting him out, and they got him out, and he's gonna get out. And like my auntie said, why hasn't somebody from his family approached my aunt and say, "Hey, I'm sorry for what happened to your son"? To me, it's obvious. It's because you know that your son perpetrated it, and you don't want him to feel like you're taking another side, so you just climb up all together. But then again, your family, it's not the first murder trial that they went through. So, my anger speaking. My anger speaking, and I got a lot to say. And this is, it's not gonna end anytime soon. We could stop this cycle and have sit down as family to family, get some kind of understanding, like my aunt said, just show some type of remorse, but there's none there. So if my auntie, like I said, and the church should be above reproach. She's blameless. And so if you're just gonna overlook her and say screw her when your actions say F you to somebody, what's the natural response from that person you're saying F you to? It's gonna be F you right back. And us as Christians, and that's basically what it is. People think that because we're following Christ, that you could just do something bad to us, and we have no choice but to turn around, throw flowers back at you, and say, forgive. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's hard. You got to remember, there's not one perfect person in this world. In the book of Romans, it said we're all worthy of death, meaning we all fall short of the glory. Every morning we wake up, every single person. And for you to test that about us, it's like your punishment is going to be stiffer. To me, it's like you're taking advantage of my Christianity. Constantly pushing and pushing, knowing what kind of background I have. My aunt has did nothing to nobody, and yet you're pushing on her. And I'm talking about the police department, tribal council members, and all that. And it's like, why? What do you get out of it? What do you get out of doing this to my aunt, to my family? What do you get out of doing this to my cousin? Because my cousin's already murdered, and what the law enforcement and everything is doing, the court system is just re-victimizing him all over again. That's all you're doing. He's already had his funeral, but yet you're trying to find ways to re-murder him, to hurt him. Right now, where my cousin's at, you can't touch him. He's with the Almighty, and we're left down here. And this is going to happen again to somebody else's family.
That's right.
It's going to keep happening. And so we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep talking about it. And like I said, we're going to keep going on bigger platforms. And so I hope you guys are ready to become famous. Like I said, like my aunt, through all her anger and everything, that's all, a simple, recognition, at least come up and say you're sorry. Sorry to hear about Albert. None of that. No remorse.
None at all.
No remorse at all. So, but yet you cry to the tribal council and you cry to the courts. They're saying this about Rusty, blah, blah, blah. You expect remorse out of the community and everything, but yet you show my auntie no remorse. So to me, it's like, the old me, the dead me, You know, like I said, when somebody says "f you" to you, you know, to me, natural response, "f you" right back. And I'm gonna be 40. I'm 44, gonna be 45, and sometimes, you know, the way you got me is wishing that I can go back to my 20s and just, Lord, give me one day to go out there and just, you know, basically have a purge. You know what I mean? But I can't, because I'll never come back from that. That guy's dead, and it's wrong. It's wrong that you put people in that state of mind. You know, I try every day. Every day I wake up trying to find ways, thinking of ways to raise awareness. How can we make the community better and stuff? And at the same time, I'm having thoughts of just like I just thoughts of anger and everything like that. And it's just, you know, that's what you're responsible for. And my aunt, I can't imagine. I won't even. I'm not even entertaining the thought. I don't want to know what it's like to lose one of my kids. I can't even think about that. I don't want to think about. I don't want to think about what my mom or my auntie is going through. I can't. I won't let my mind drift that far down the rabbit hole. This is my cousin, and I'm gonna stay fighting for him. Same thing with my auntie. She's gonna keep speaking for him. This is Mama Bear. This is Mama Bear, and you know, he should have left her alone. All she was trying to do is earn a living. It's what she was doing, earning a living, being peaceful, worshiping God. And he came along and just invaded her house and took her baby from her. It sounds like a nightmare because it is. I mean, imagine what she's going through. And like I said, tomorrow the trial starts. So we're going to ask for prayers from everybody. And we're going to pass these videos around. And like I said, speaking, I'm angry. The Bible says that, you know, anger of man never brings about the righteousness of God. It's hard. It's hard because it's screaming loud. And, you know, to the Lord, forgive us. Forgive us because we're weak. Forgive us because our anger is sometimes louder than your voice. And I know there's a lot of people out there that know that feeling. And, you know, we're gonna keep speaking. We're gonna keep marching. We're gonna keep raising awareness. We're gonna keep doing all that because we love him. And we're not, you know, we're his voice. We're his voice because he can't speak anymore, and we're going to continue to speak. And anything else you want to say?
I wanted to add for anybody who sees this video, if you're non-native and you live in the Parker community, you have to realize that what happens down at that tribal courthouse with the Rusty Fisher and him walking, he's going to be out in the public in this community again to do whatever he wants. And like I said in mentioning before, he hunted my son for 30 days before he finally killed him. And that's one thing that's not brought up around here. And you know, you talk to someone else. It's like I said before earlier, is what I had been hearing from other tribal members is how he was scared of my son. That's why he did what he did, that my son was after him. And yet my son was, in talking to him, he was always telling me, he's my friend, Mom, he's my friend, and all that. You know, and that's like I said, what I told him before about, you know, everybody doesn't think the same as you, Albert. And I did want to mention that, you know, my son, I'm not trying to make him sound like an angel or anything. He had his problems with drugs, and he loved doing beer runs. When he didn't have no money, he'd do beer runs for his friends. And I had told him, I said, Albert, you're going to have to pay for that one day. I said, you're going to get caught eventually. And I said, I hope that when you finally straighten up your life, I said, you'll pay back everything that you owe, all, you know, from these beer runs or whatever else you've done wrong. I said, I hope you know, pay it all back. I said, because that day's going to come. And he would tell me, I know, Mom. He goes, I'm gonna get straight. He goes, I'm gonna get straight one of these days. And he had gone to rehab before, but that was during the pandemic and everything closed down. So he came home and he was doing really well for a while until he did get drawn back into the drug scene again. But he told me hours before he was killed that he came to me and told me, Mom, he says, I'm done. He goes, I'm ready to go, because he had already talked and set up a plan for rehab, but he was waiting until after Christmas because he wanted to spend Christmas with his kids. But on the 11th, the night of the 11th, before he left the house, he told me, Mom, I'm ready. He says, I'm done. He goes, I'm going to go to the office Monday and talk to Shelly and tell her I'm ready to go. Just send me out anywhere. Just find me a space somewhere. He said, because I can't take it anymore. And he says, he goes, what's going on with this guy across the street? He says, I have no idea. He says, I have no idea anymore, Mom, why he's doing what he's doing. And I said, okay. I gave him a hug, and I was just telling him when he was getting ready to leave, I told him, just be careful, Albert. I said, they've been out there partying all day. I mean, for hours and hours and hours. I said, they were out there. I said, just be careful. And he said, I will, Mom, I will. And he goes, for sure. He said, when he's going out the door, for sure. He says, I'm going to go. He goes, I'll go see Shelly Monday and tell her to send me out. He goes, I'm ready, Mom, I'm ready. And unfortunately for him, Monday never came. He was dead within hours of my talking to him. So I just want the people in this community, if you're not, like I said, if you're non-native, I want you to know that this young man is going to be out there again, free, riding around, drunk, like he's been doing, and unfortunately, there were other people involved.
Yeah.
There were a couple of young men, and I know two by name. There was a third one. I'm not sure who he was, but these ones were with him every time he was out there drinking, and then they'd get drunk out there, and then they'd hop in the truck and then go up and down the streets and looking for my son until eventually that night when they caught him. But these other young men are out there in the community. They've been out there. They're not coming forward. They're not going to tell the truth. They're helping their friend out. And when he gets out of jail again, I'm pretty sure they're going to meet up again, and that's not going to stop. Because I think he gets offended so easy by anything that, you better watch out. Watch out for your family members.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to think about him anymore. If he's got something loose up there, or he's not all there to begin with. And then with his family backing him, they know he murdered my son, yet they're out there trying to get him out of jail. So
When you're raising a kid and he does something bad and you don't punish him for it, what happens to that kid? How does he act? Well, try an adult. Even when it comes to criminal, that's the ultimate criminal homicide. No punishment, family right there standing behind you. You didn't do nothing bad. So what kind of mindset is that? But that's what's coming to the community. And like I said, if we got to spend the rest of our days here on Earth raising awareness and just pointing this guy out, that's what we're gonna do. There's other places in the United States you can go to live. But don't think you're gonna have a happy life living around us. Well, we got to sit there and watch you walk around free, walking around all day. We got things twisted. That's not how it's gonna happen. We're sitting here, we're trying to do things positive in the community, and that's pushing way beyond the boundaries right there. I wouldn't ask that of anybody. I wouldn't ask that of my worst enemy. Albert, what he was to us is everybody's family. They have that one family member who, no matter what, will drop everything he's doing to help you. That one that you can always count on, whether it's good or bad. And that was Albert. And he was taken from us. And that's a piece that's a piece of the family you can never replace. You good?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna end this, and there's gonna be more. I said on Wednesday 7, we're supposed to do Frank's positive vibes today, but unfortunately something came up with Frank. He couldn't do it, so we went live on my channel. And so Wednesday we're gonna go live with Frank, and anybody that wants to tap on, and just want to tell everybody thank you, and thank you for following along. Thank you for your support. Just thank God for everything. I'm sorry if we had a couple outbursts right there, but it is a sensitive subject, and it's hard to make people understand how you feel. And just want to tell everybody, stay safe out there. Have a good night, and God bless. Thank you for tuning in. More to come. Just thank you. Thank you for your support.